What's up? What's up? This is His Lordship. Shout out to Maribel for being the first and grown folks. I don't know who was first, but I think Maribel was first. Shout out to Maribel. Yeah. That's Agent 99. If you remember Get Smart, Maribel Hernandez is Agent 99. Okay? Grandma in the building. And you know what? Murphy Law would have it that when my real folks show up today, I gotta go. I swear to God, this show only gonna be 15 minutes, and all my real folks is gonna show up. My last show, I had to talk about a Shakespeare character, a Jewish guy, a merchant in Venice, and I thought I knew Shakespeare. I don't know shit about Shakespeare because I never heard of that character. And Robert De Niro played him before. What's up, Debit Free? Look at this. It's popping right now. It's popping. And I swear, I'm gonna have to leave in about 15 minutes. I just got a text message. Somebody said they'll be here around 7. But maybe it's all in the title, okay? So shout out to Joe Rogan. I don't be watching his shows and stuff, but sometimes he come with it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I appreciate that, grown folks. And you know what? I saw your video with the intro, and I said, man, that is dope. That looked dope. The video fit the screen. And then your show came on, and that's how it's done. That looked really good, sounded good, man. I had forgot about your intro for a split second, and when I clicked the play button and that intro came on, I said, oh yeah, and started nodding my head. What's up, Barbie Doll? What's up, Prometheus? You know what I'm saying? Man, look at this. This is Murphy's Law. So I better get to the point right quick. I'm going to play some excerpts from Joe Rogan and Edward Snowden, okay? And I'm going to try to slide that in under the radar, okay? So I'm going to try to confuse the algorithms and play my track in the background while I'm playing the part of the interview. And this is called How Your Cell Phone Spies on You, okay? Grandma, I'm going to try to go live earlier in the future, especially like on a Monday or a Sunday, but I'm about to be working 4 jobs soon, so so get it while it's hot. So here we go.
Surveillance and what, if anything, has changed since your revelations?
Yeah, I mean the big thing that's changed since I was in 2013. Is now it's mobile first everything. Mobile was still a big deal, right? And the intelligence community was very much grappling to get its hands around it and to deal with it. But now people are much less likely to use a laptop than use a desktop than use, any kind of wired phone than they are to use a smartphone. And both Apple and Android devices, unfortunately, are not especially good in protecting your privacy. Think right now. You got a smartphone, right? You might be listening to this on a train somewhere in traffic right now. Or you, Joe, right now. You got a phone somewhere in the room, right? The phone is turned off, or at least the screen is turned off. It's sitting there. It's powered on. And if somebody sends you a message, the screen blinks to life. How does that happen? Right. How is it that if someone from any corner of the earth dials a number, your phone rings and nobody else's rings? How is it that you can dial anybody else's number and only their phone rings, right? Every smartphone, every phone at all, is constantly connected to the nearest cellular tower. Every phone, even when the screen is off, you think it's doing nothing, you can't see it because radio frequency emissions are invisible, it's screaming in the air, saying, here I am, here I am. Here is my IMEI, I think it's Individual Manufacturer's Equipment Identity, and IMEI, Individual Manufacturer's Subscriber Identity. I could be wrong on the breakout there, but the acronyms are the IMEI and the IMSI, and you can search for these things. They're two globally unique identifiers that only exist anywhere in the world in one place, right? This makes your phone different than all the other phones. The IMEI is burned into the handset of your phone. No matter what SIM card you change to, it's always going to be the same, and it's always going to be telling the phone network it's this physical handset. Then the IMESI is in your SIM card, right? And this is what holds your phone number, right? It's basically the key, the right to use that phone number. And so your phone is sitting there doing nothing, you think, but it's constantly shouting and saying, I'm here. Who is closest to me? That's a cell phone tower. And every cell phone tower with its big ears is listening for these little cries for help and going, all right, I see Joe Rogan's phone, right? I see Jamie's phone. I see all these phones that are here right now. And it compares notes with the other network towers, and your smartphone compares notes with them to go, who do I hear the loudest? And who you hear the loudest is a proxy for proximity, for closeness, distance, right? They go, whoever I hear more loudly than anybody else, that's close to me. So you're going to be bound to this cell phone tower, and that cell phone tower is going to make a note, a permanent record, saying this phone handset with this phone number at this time was connected to me, right? And based on your phone handset and your phone number, they can get your identity, right? Because you pay for this stuff with your credit card and everything like that. And even if you don't, right, it's still active at your house overnight. It's still active, on your nightstand when you're sleeping. It's still whatever. The movements of your phone are the movements of you as a person, and those are often quite uniquely identifying. It goes to your home, it goes to your workplace. Other people don't have it, sorry. And anyway, it's constantly shouting this out, and then it compares notes with the other parts of the network. And when somebody is trying to get to a phone, it compares notes, the network compares notes to go, where is this phone with this phone number in the world right now? And to that cell phone tower that is closest to that phone, it sends out a signal saying, we have a call for you. Make your phone start ringing so your owner can answer it, and then it connects it across this whole path. But what this means is that whenever you're carrying a phone, whenever the phone is turned on, there's a record of your presence at that place that is being made and created by companies. It does not need to be kept forever, and in fact, there's no good argument for it to be kept forever, but these companies see that as valuable information, right? This is the whole big data problem that we're running into, and all this information that used to be ephemeral, right? Where were you when you were 8 years old, where were you? Where'd you go after you had a bad breakup? Who'd you spend the night with? Who'd you call after? All this information used to be ephemeral, meaning it disappeared, right? Like the morning dew, it would be gone. No one would remember it. But now, these things are stored. Now, these things are saved. It doesn't matter whether you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't matter whether you're the most ordinary person on Earth, because that's how bulk collection, which is the government's euphemism for mass surveillance, works. They simply collect it all in advance in hopes that one day it will become useful. And that was just talking about how you connect to the phone network. That's not talking about all those apps on your phone that are contacting the network even more frequently, right? How do you get a text message notification? How do you get an email notification? How is it that Facebook knows where you're at? All of these things, these analytics, they are trying to keep track through location services on your phone, through GPS, through even just what wireless access points you're connected to, because there's a global, constantly updated map. There's actually many of them, of wireless access points in the world, because just like we talked about, every phone has a unique identifier that's globally unique. Every wireless access point in the world, right? Your cable modem at home, whether it's in your laptop, every device that has a radio modem has a globally unique identifier in it. And this is a standard term, you can look it up. And these things can be mapped when they're broadcasting in the air, because again, like your phone says to the cell phone tower, I have this identifier, the cell phone tower responds and says, I have this identifier. And anybody who's listening, they can write these things down. And all those Google Street View cars that go back and forth, right? They're keeping notes on whose Wi-Fi is active on this block, right? And then they build it into a giant map. So even if you have GPS turned off, right? As long as you're connected to Wi-Fi, those apps can go, well, I'm connected to Joe's Wi-Fi, but I can also see his neighbor's Wi-Fi here, and the other one in this apartment over here, and the other one in the apartment here. And you should only be able to hear those 4 globally unique Wi-Fi access points from these points in physical space, right? The intersection in between the spreads, the domes of all those wireless access points. And it's a proxy for location. And it just goes on and on and on. We could talk about this for 4 more hours. We don't have that kind of time.
Can I ask you this? Is there a way to mitigate any of this personally? Even shutting your phone off doesn't even work, right?
Well, so it does, in a way. It's yes and no. The thing with shutting your phone off that is a risk is, how do you know your phone's actually turned off? It used to be, when I was in Geneva, for example, working for the CIA, we would all carry, like, drug dealer phones. The old smartphones, old...
I'm just going to interject right here, just in case there's a time limit on snippets. There is somewhat of a you can use snippets just like samples, especially if you do commentary on it, but it's a gray area, it's a fine line. So I'm just going to pause right here just in case, and I'm using this for educational purposes, and shout out to Joe Rogan. I don't get any AdSense anyway, so I talked about this earlier, but hearing it from him gives it more validation, and that's where I heard it from anyway. But he's about to tell you that CIA agents or FBI agents, they use binary phones like those old Motorola flips, because when they take the battery out the back of the phone, they know for sure that the phone has no power. Now that you have these cell phones that you can't take the battery out, you don't know if the phone is off, and you don't know, like Big Brother George Orwell, you don't know that there's a whole new vocabulary that we don't know. And so off means off to consumers and the average American, but to the government there's another term called off or completely off or flat off, and that means that it's off. But off doesn't mean off, just like free doesn't mean free anymore. Off doesn't mean off anymore, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, Wi-Fi hacks and stuff. Look, back in the day, a college student would make their own Wi-Fi antenna that'll give them 3,000 more feet so they could steal Wi-Fi from somebody who has Wi-Fi for free in the neighborhood. And then they would use that to download illegal MP3 music files, and then they would make CDs and sell it to other students in the school. And they was getting busted left and right, $250,000 fines. So I'm gonna let him continue though.
Dumb phones, they're not smartphones. And the reason why was just because they had
removable
backs where you could take the battery out, right? And the one beautiful thing about technology is if there's no electricity in it, right? If there's no go juice available to it, if there's no battery connected to it, it's not sending anything, because you have to get power from somewhere. You have to have power in order to do work. But now your phones are all sealed, right? You can't take the batteries out. So there are potential ways that you can hack a phone where it appears to be off, but it's not actually off. It's just pretending to be off, whereas in fact it's still listening in and doing all this stuff. But for the average person, that doesn't apply, right? And I gotta tell you guys, they've been chasing me all over the place. I don't worry about that stuff, right? And it's because if they're applying that level of effort to me, they'll probably get the same information through other routes. I am as careful as I can, and I use things like Faraday cages. I turn devices off. But if they're actually manipulating the way devices display, it's just too great a level of effort, even for someone like me, to keep that up on a constant basis. Also, if they get me, I only trust phones so much. So there's only so much they can derive from the compromise. And this is how operational security works. You think about what are the realistic threats that you're facing, that you're trying to mitigate. And the mitigation that you're trying to do is what would be the loss, what would be the damage done to you if this stuff was exploited. Much more realistic than worrying about these things that I call voodoo hacks, right, which are like next level stuff. And actually, just a shout out for those of your readers who are interested in this stuff. I wrote a paper on this specific problem. How do you know when a phone is actually off? How do you know when it's actually not spying on you?
Look, I recommend putting electrical tape over your camera. I recommend that you have an aluminum box that you can put your phone in at night, or have an aluminum box in your car, and when you get off the freeway and you go and buy one of your homies' houses that you don't really want everybody to know that you're going by your homie house, you know what I'm saying, put your phone in that aluminum box. But guess what? Your car has a tracker too. And there was a time when you had to pay for that. And even though you had to pay for it, if they cut the service off, they were still tracking you. You just didn't have access to it. You see what I'm saying? In the early days, it was low jack. You know, if you had a fancy car, you get low jack and all that stuff. But Bumbo wrench doesn't mean nothing here. It's just like a membership jacket, like a club jacket. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to get blocked here or timed out unless you could be the first. But this ain't that type of party. This ain't that type of scene. But what he's also telling you that there is no meter. You know how you get analytics for YouTube and all this stuff? There are no analytics for the apps that are on your phone. You do not know what kind of data they're collecting, and they can have some kind of shorthand code, and they can send messages to a main computer that's only a few kilobytes. Like 20 kilobytes could be a half a book of information in shorthand about you and what you was doing and where you were at. See what I'm saying? The only thing that take up a lot of memory is video and audio and pictures. But text doesn't take hardly any memory. And if you have a shorthand language, it's taking up even less memory. So let's say you have a Facebook app and you never use it and you never really check your Facebook. But if you check usage, data usage, it might say 5 kilobytes. 3 days from now, it says 10 kilobytes. And you know that kilobytes ain't nothing, right? So, because we used to dealing with megs and gigs and stuff like that, terabytes. So when you see kilobytes, you're like, oh, okay, I don't know what that is. And then you see 15 kilobytes. Well, a whole lot of information can be transferred in just a few kilobytes, trust me. And there is no way to tell which app that you have on your phone is collecting data. The only thing that I personally recommend is checking how much the app has used the Wi-Fi or your cellular service. Even though you haven't used it, if it says 15, 20, 30 kilobytes, even though it seems like nothing, it sends some information. It let people know that you were at Ross, that you were at Target, that you here, there, and everywhere else. So what's up, Unconscious and everybody in the building? Ali the Sag. And let me play a little bit more.
With a brilliant guy named Andrew Bunny Huang. He's an MIT PhD in, I think, electrical engineering. Called the Introspection Engine. That was published in the Journal of Open Engineering. You can find it online. And it'll go as deep down in the weeds, I promise you, as you want. We take an iPhone 6, this was back when it was fairly new, and we modified it so we could actually not trust the device to report its own state, but physically monitor its state to see if it was spying on you. But for average people, right, this is academic. That's not your primary threat. Your primary threats are these bulk collection programs. Your primary threat is the fact that your phone is constantly squawking to these cell phone towers that's doing all of these things, because we leave our phones in a state that is constantly on. You're constantly connected, right? Airplane mode doesn't even turn off Wi-Fi really anymore. It just turns off the cellular modem. But the whole idea is we need to identify the problem. And the central problem with smartphone use today is you have no idea what the hell it's doing at any given time. Like, the phone has the screen off, you don't know what it's connected to, you don't know how frequently it's doing it. Apple and iOS, unfortunately, makes it impossible to see what kind of network connections are constantly made on the device, and to intermediate them, going, I don't want Facebook to be able to talk right now. I don't want Google to be able to talk right now. I just want my secure messenger app to be able to talk. I just want my weather app to be able to talk. But I just checked my weather, and now I'm done with it, so I don't want that to be able to talk anymore. And we need to be able to make these intelligent decisions on not just an app-by-app basis, but a connection-by-connection basis, right? You want, let's say you use Facebook, because, for whatever judgment we have, a lot of people might do it. You want it to be able to connect to Facebook's content servers. You want to be able to message a friend. You want to be able to download a photograph or whatever. But you don't want it to be able to talk to an ad server. You don't want it to talk to an analytics server that's monitoring your behavior, right? You don't want it to talk to all these third-party things, because Facebook crams their garbage into almost every app that you download, and you don't even know it's happening because you can't see it, right? And this is the problem with the data collection used today, is there's an industry that is built on keeping this invisible. And what we need to do is we need to make the activities of our devices, whether it's a phone, whether it's a computer, or whatever, more visible and understandable to the average person, and then give them control over it. So, like, if you could see your phone right now, and at the very center of it is a little green icon that's your, handset, or it's a picture of your face, whatever. And then you see all these little spokes coming off of it. That's every app that your phone is talking to right now, or every app that is active on your phone right now, and all of the hosts that it's connecting to. And you can see right now, once every 3 seconds, your phone is checking into Facebook, and you can just poke that app, and then boom, it's not talking to Facebook anymore. Facebook's not allowed. Facebook's speaking privileges have been revoked, right? You would do that. We would all do that. If there was a button on your phone that said, do what I want, but not spy on me, you would press that button, right?
But that button does not exist. I repeat, that button does not exist. And that's the scary part. You know what I'm saying? And when you walk down the street, when you come home at night or whatever, you have a entourage. It's an invisible entourage of hella different companies with you at all times.
That button does not exist right now. And both Google and Apple, unfortunately, Apple's a lot better at this than Google. But neither of them allow that button to exist. In fact, they actively interfere with it because they say it's a security risk. And from a particular perspective, they actually aren't wrong there. But it's not enough to go, we have to lock that capability off from people because we don't trust they would make the right decisions. We think it's too complicated for people to do this. We think there's too many connections being made. Well, that is actually a confession of the problem right there. If you think people can't understand it, if you think there are too many communications happening, if you think there's too much complexity in there, it needs to be simplified. just like the president can't control everything like that, if you have to be the president of the phone, and the phone is as complex as the United States government, we have a problem, guys. This should be a much more simple process. It should be obvious. And the fact that it's not, and the fact that we read story after story, year after year, saying all your data's been breached here, this company's spying on you here, this company's manipulating your purchases or your search results, or they're hiding these things from your timeline, or they're influencing you or manipulating you in all of these different ways. That happens as a result of a single problem. And that problem is an inequality of available information. They can see everything about you, they can see everything about what your device is doing, and they can do whatever they want with your device. You, on the other hand, owned the device. Well, rather, you paid for the device. But increasingly these corporations own it, increasingly these governments own it, and increasingly we are living in a world where we do all the work, right? We pay all the taxes, we pay all the costs, but we own less and less. And nobody understands this better than the youngest generation.
Well, it seems...
Yes, and he was going to get in, later on he was going to get into this law that started a long time ago. I got to cut it right here. And oh yeah, you Google some shoes, but look, if you write about shoes in a private email to your friend or relative or whatever, you in your private letter on Gmail, you write about shoes, you will see shoe ads also on wherever else, like you do in your Google search or whatever, or even sometimes spam, you will see that also because they look for keywords. But what he was going to get into later was, there's a clause where this guy was stalking this lady and they caught his license plate. So the police asked the phone company for his phone number, and the phone company gave him the number out of a courtesy, but he did that without a search warrant, and the guy tried to take the police to court saying that his rights were violated, right? And hold on one second.
It's like our data became a commodity before we understood what it was. It became this thing that's insanely valuable to Google and Facebook and all these social media platforms. Before we understood what we were giving up, they were making billions of dollars. And then once that money is being earned and once everyone's accustomed to this situation, it's very difficult to pull the reins back. It's very difficult to turn that horse around.
Okay, we don't have time to get to that point, but I want to make this point. Let me cut the music because I'm about to send off my clients here. Because this, if you're somebody like certain YouTubers that's claiming that they're being stalked or whatever, this guy was actually physically stalking this lady. It wasn't virtual. It wasn't on the internet. This was back in the 70s, I think, or the 80s, okay? They caught his license plate. The police asked the phone company to give them his number based on his license plate. So then, hello, Evelyn Underwood. So then they used that to convict him, okay? But the guy tried to sue the police force and said that they got his information without a warrant, because everybody be hollering warrants and all that BS, right? Well, the phone company gave the police the information out of a courtesy. The phone company owns the rights to the phone, and the phone belongs to the company, not the person. The person really don't have the person can't say yes or no. All the data and everything belongs to the phone company. So he lost that lawsuit, and then all the tech companies used that case as a premise to own all of your data. So whenever somebody tried to take the tech company to court, they used that old case to set the grounds for their defense. To this day, that old case that had to do with a landline phone, not even software, but the software companies use that. And that's what he was going to That's what he was going to go into. And there's a term for it. I said it in my other shows. I don't remember that term. But if you want to, there's probably 20, there's probably 14, 16 minutes left in this video. And it's called Edward Snowden, How Your Cell Phone Spies on You. And you can find it on JRE Clips. So JRE, capital JRE Clips. That's Joe Rogan's channel. And it's called Edward Snowden, How Your Cell Phone Spies on You. It has 7 million views. So I know this might get flagged. That's why I was playing the music. But he might catch up with it in about 2 or 3 days. So, screaming from Talladega, Alabama. I probably didn't pronounce that right. Today a king was born. My brother Devin Cameron, a.k.a. Okay. So, look, I'm going to play more Edward Snowden interviews with other people and stuff like that. It's going to be a little theme because I'm tired of people blaming other people for their ignorance and blaming other people for their own mistakes, their own negligence. They put their own family members and ex-boyfriends and stuff at risk. They drop their own docs, but it's somebody else's fault. How come people don't make these accidents on television and radio? You see what I'm saying? Because it's regulated and they got somebody with the mute button right there for when people make mistakes. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You doxed yourself. You show, I got photographs of people phone numbers coming across the screen as a message, like as a incoming message. People were warned, hey, we can see this, we can see that. And you know what the content creator said? I'm not worried about it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I ain't worried about it. It's okay. I see it. Yeah, I know. You see what I'm saying? And then a month later, I'm being stalked. I'm being harassed. No, you got involved with something that you had no knowledge of. Just like, you know how many lottery winners buy a, what's that car? It's an American car. I can't think of it. One of them fast cars. American car. Faster. Yeah, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Okay. Not a Corvette. I can't think of it. It's an American car. You close though. Why I can't think of it? Nah, faster. Viper. Okay. Yeah, Dodge Viper. Look, this dude never drove a Viper before. He pulled out of the dealership in Los Angeles. He got about a mile down the street. He called the dealership and said, come get this car before I kill myself. You see what I'm saying? You cannot use apps, go online, try to broadcast, try to do shows without doing your homework and your research. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not a child, don't Don't compare yourself to child situations. It really amazed me how an adult would say they being bullied online. Oh my God, I don't understand that. How can an adult be cyber stalked and bullied? I don't understand that. Because you always have a choice to not go online and not be on YouTube or any other social network. As an adult, you should know better. That's the weirdest, that's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. An adult, I don't care what you say, the police say, put a police officer online and let me hear that person say that they agree with you when you told them your situation. Because where I live, you could not say that to any law enforcement. Can no adult in where I live tell a officer of the law that I'm a victim of cyberbullying? They would look at you crazy. They would go, oh, okay, bless your heart, okay. And then they would be condescending. They would talk gently and soft to you. And then they would say, have a good day. And, or they might even try to lead you to a couple of places, but they're going to talk about you when they walk away. There's just no way that an adult can be stalked, harassed, or bullied. Okay, because guess what an adult has more than a child? The adult have the mental faculty to say no and to change their habits and patterns and remove themselves from a dangerous situation. Once you are aware that a situation is dangerous, you have the option to remove yourself. If you stay in that situation and it is proven that you would not leave that situation because you have some sort of an addiction to that situation, then you're not a victim. Word up. And I recognize that symbol. That's dope. On that note, I'm out. Peace and hair grease. Exactly. Critical thinking skills.
I'm the magnificent.
Tell them what your name is.
I'm the magnificent. Yo, man, I don't think they heard you. Why don't you tell them what your name is?